I know. It's
Welcome.
gonna welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
I know. Good morning for me. Good afternoon for you.
Well, it's
So
still morning. It's still 11 o'clock, but
yeah, it is.
it
So
feels
it
like
is. I will say
afternoon.
it is a little shock to the system to have to be awake and alive and on video at 8 when I haven't said a word until just now, except to my cat. So yeah,
You got to get on
yeah.
and just like go outside and talk to people
I
beforehand.
know. I did actually. I went out and I moved my car because I'm leaving for Idaho on Friday, and I want to be able to have my car right in front of my house so I can put the bike case in. And um, yeah, I did see a lovely woman. And I said, "Good morning." She said, "It's always a good morning." And I was like, "You're right. Here we are at the beach. It's always a good
Love that.
morning." So,
Nice
and guess what?
positivity on that lady.
I know. Well, she looked like she was about 90. So, for every morning, it is a good morning for her. Although I
It's
feel the
good.
same way. So,
Me too.
yeah.
Me
Yeah.
too.
So, welcome back. It looks like we're live. I see us over on YouTube. And good morning, everybody. Welcome, Team Wilpers. I'm Coach Lorri Lown. This is Brian Hammond. We are the cycling coaches for Team Wilpers. And we're here to chat a little bit about our upcoming challenges. And what have you been up to, Brian? Do we want to talk about
Well,
this?
of course we want to talk about this. We always love
Okay.
talking about this stuff.
Full disclosure.
Yeah, as some of you guys know, I just returned from Colorado. I'm in Vermont. Returned from Colorado doing the steamboat gravel. I was doing it with a blind athlete, Francesco, and we were attempting the Black Course, which is 125 miles, over 10,000 feet of climbing. And it was a lot of fun, but not so successful.
It was a lot of
Well,
fun
I guess
until it wasn't fun, right?
yeah, we'll say success can be had in a couple different ways. So Francesco is a blind athlete. He's about 6'5", just for context. So he's a very tall person. And you know, having different bikes. He lives in New York City, so having different bikes is usually not an option. He's new to sports overall in the last, I guess, like 6 years or so. So he just got a gravel bike made. So this gravel bike just arrived a couple weeks ago. So the race was on Sunday. He went to Telluride the Friday prior, so 1 week out, and he rode with a guide out there a couple times, but no more than like an hour.
Yeah.
And then I arrived Wednesday before the race. We did a 2-hour ride, and then we did a 1-hour ride as a shakeout, just kind of get a feel for the bike, get it on some dirt, and see. So the real problem is he never really had time on the bike itself. So about 67 miles in, we're about 6 to 7 hours in. His back was just shot.
Mm.
Yeah, he just couldn't. He just couldn't sit any longer. Like we'd have to stop just for him to stretch out a little bit. So it wasn't really a physical thing for him. Like his legs felt fine. I mean, obviously we're altitude, but all that stuff was fine. It was really the comfort overall, which
Mhm.
kind of goes to a segue of why bike fitting is actually so important, right? Like he was physically fit enough to do this race. It just, he wasn't dialed in on the bike. He just hadn't had the
Yeah.
time on the bike to get accustomed to it. And his low back was hurting, and that goes right up to his neck. And then he has got a headache and all this stuff. So 67 miles in, we had made the cutoff by about 30 minutes or so, but sitting there and the rest area, he's like, we got 5,000 more feet of climbing. Right?
Yeah.
Like we're like, he's like, I don't see this getting any better.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? You're right. Honestly, like it was the right call. So he got in the car, and then we realized this tandem bike is gigantic and it's the size of a car. So it doesn't fit in any car, which led me riding the tandem home by
Which
myself.
cracked me up. So I texted Brian just cheering them on, saying, pedal, 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 you got this. And he texted me back a photo of him on the tandem with no one on the back. And I was like, this is not going well, which if you
Not
check
good.
out Brian's Instagram, you'll see that photo as well. It's
Yes.
kind of funny and not funny at the same time. But what
No,
is
it was odd.
speaking of altitude, let me ask you a question. What's the altitude at Steamboat? So what the starting altitude of the race?
I think it's like around 7,000.
That's pretty big. You came in close, like within the
Yeah,
curve
six
where it's
six or
going to
seven
hurt.
thousand or so. It definitely like, and that part. What was nice is we actually rode without a power meter,
Yeah.
so we're like no power. I had my heart rate monitor on. He had his, and like that was it. We're just going to ride by feel. We were really doing this. This is something that we threw on our radar like a year or so ago about like, what's next for Francesco and his crazy. I mean, this is a guy, he's done an Ironman. We've done Ultraman. This was the
Wait a
next
minute.
logical
Stop,
thing.
pause. What's Ultraman?
So Ultraman is a 3-day Ironman, essentially. So the first day is a 10K swim, so a 6-mile swim plus a 90-mile bike ride. The second day, I know it gets crazy.
What could possibly go wrong?
No, that was nuts. The second day is a 172-mile bike ride. And then the third day is a double marathon, so 52.6-mile run. And you have 12 hours every day to complete the task. So he was the first person. We did that last February. He was the first person in America blind to complete the Ultraman. So he's a very experienced endurance athlete. We've definitely thrown him in the fire over the last couple of years. So gravel, this was the next best thing. We probably should have smartened up and done the blue course, the 100-miler option instead of the 125. But us junkies, we would have got done with the 100 and been like, man, we should have done the 125.
Yeah.
Right. So for us, it was about the experience. It was about, let's get out there, let's have an adventure, right? Let's just see what's going to happen. It's not about the finish line as much as it is hard not to cross a finish line. If you kind of keep it in mind of really why we're doing this, and the heads that turn and all the cyclists that would ride up to us and just be like, I can't believe you're doing this. This is amazing. It's so inspiring. Like, that's what this is all about, is, especially for him to just show the visually impaired community that there's nothing in your way. Like, you can do whatever it is you want to do. You just got to find someone dumb enough like me to hop on the front of the bike and do it. And partially to our defense, Steamboat Gravel is known for their champagne gravel.
Right.
I've done the black course a couple of years ago, and that's why I thought it was good for Francesco, because it's not a super technical surface typically, but they changed the course this year.
I heard,
due to some strife that they're having with the community, and they put in this Wahoogan Pass. So I would say the first 50 miles this course was not your typical champagne gravel. It was very Vermont-esque. It was very chunky, a lot of loose sand, deep dirt. I almost ditched the bike at least 2 or 3 times in corners. Just because you couldn't read the dirt necessarily. So it was much more challenging than we actually expected the first half, which I think played into our overall speed. We couldn't descend the same way that we would. And that's where you really gain on a tandem is, us bombing downhill. Going uphill, I kept joking to everybody. I was like, yeah, it's double the power, but 3 times the weight, because he's a big guy back there.
I don't think I realized how tall he was.
Yeah, he's 6'5".
So he outweighs you by a lot.
That
takes a lot of core strength to hold him up on that bike.
Yeah, a lot, especially when you're talking about gravel. Now, the nice thing about gravel is gravel's not regulated by the UCI, so there's no bike sizing issue, where when we do triathlon or we do road racing, his bike has to be a regulation size.
Yeah.
So it's got to fit inside the jig, when we show up to a USA national race. And now the problem with that is tandem bikes are designed for the larger person to be in the front. So I'm 5'11", he's 6'5".
Yeah.
So his custom road bike is really weird because the back end just doesn't look right. Where on this bike we could really have the length that we needed to get that. But with that length obviously comes some trouble, with cornering and things of that nature. And it was really odd when he got off the bike. It took me about a mile or 2 to actually settle the bike, because I didn't have that.
You're used to having that weight. It's like taking
a
touring bike and taking all the packs off. And I always have that issue. But look, we got folks here. Good morning, Erin and Maggie and Will. Hope everybody's awesome today. So I was having a chat yesterday with a longtime friend and former client of mine who also raced at Steamboat Gravel, and she ended up with back pain as well. And she has a gravel bike that is designed almost exactly like her road bike, and it's fit just like her road bike. Her coach had said, "Oh, this is okay." And it was like, yeah, no, gravel bikes are fit differently than road bikes, just like Pelotons are fit differently than road bikes, and mountain bikes are fit differently than road bikes. So one of her tasks before nationals in a couple of weeks is to go in and get a fit on the gravel bike so she doesn't end up with discomfort. And she did quite well. She was in the top 15 overall for women, but
That's awesome.
suffered. I mean, her back is killing her. So
Yeah, that
yeah,
course. I mean, the changes they made to the black course were significant. Like it
yeah.
went from 140 to 125, and I was like, "Oh, this would be better." I mean,
No,
man, that Hogan pass is no joke.
yeah. Well,
Like there
good.
was, yeah, it was
Congratulations.
fun. It was awesome. I had
That's
a blast.
awesome. What's next for you and Francesco? Do you have anything else on the calendar?
I don't plan on talking to him for like a year or two.
Okay, good.
No,
That makes sense.
he did while I was there. He is getting a mountain bike built with the idea, which I put in his head a couple years ago, was Leadville.
Yeah.
So Leadville is on. I know. Like he needs to find better friends, and so do I. Like this is
Yeah.
not. But we had a very frank conversation about Leadville, and I'm definitely willing to do it with him, but things need to happen for him to prepare properly. I mean, he
Fitness
does
wise.
live in New
Yeah.
York City, right? And spending time on a mountain bike in New York City is not an easy task. So
Yeah.
we'll figure out a way to get it done when it's the proper time and for him to spend time up here in Vermont with me on the
Yeah.
mountain bike. And really, let's make sure we prepare because Leadville is not something you can just roll the dice
No,
with.
no.
There's
And those people
there's
who race
no,
Leadville arrive weeks early to acclimatize to the altitude. And I mean, my understanding, I haven't raced it. My ex did a bunch of times. I had to look at those belt buckles. Um,
Mhm.
and my understanding is it's not the most technical course ever, but it's up and down and up and down.
Yeah,
And
it's
then,
not. So I've done it. It's not super technical. It's a great mountain bike race for road riders,
mhm,
right? You can really come in with road fitness and do well there.
right,
You need some basic bike handling skills. Power lines can be challenging, ruddy, broody, but you just got to be confident and comfortable on the bike,
mhm,
I think. And there are a couple sections that are single track-ish, but no, overall, I could probably ride on a gravel bike technically,
right.
right?
Well,
Especially coming from the
as we
East
saw
Coast.
this year, there
Yes.
were some folks on gravel bikes, or the winner, the overall winner, who's
Well,
won
drop bars.
four
Yeah,
times
they'll
now.
use
He had drop bars on a mountain bike. So,
correct.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's there. It's just more a matter of spending time on the mountain bike so the fit feels good, and for us to be on it together to understand how to move
handling.
and
Yeah,
getting up and handling and stuff of that nature because you can't run into these problems that we ran into this weekend in Leadville
right,
because you won't make the cutoffs.
right. So, well, congratulations. Very
Thank you.
exciting.
Yeah, it was
The
fun.
other thing I put in our pretext that I wanted to chat about is Tour de France Femme, and I don't want to give any
Amazing.
spoilers for folks who haven't watched it, but if you're interested in at all interested in road racing, go watch the final stage of the Tour de France Femme, which is the women's Tour de France. It is a nail biter, and it is the closest finish in Tour de France history, including all the men's races. It
Hmm.
is just a phenomenal show of women's racing, and people who always say women's racing is boring, and I'm like, no, 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 it's very not boring. But yeah,
Yeah, I never understand that. Like it's not like you're comparing men's basketball to women's basketball,
right,
where like
which is
one
still
group can
exciting.
dunk exactly, like but one can dunk left and
Right,
right, like it's a different style of game, right? There's passing versus like the independent athlete. As a cyclist, I'm like, what's the difference between the males and the females?
right,
Like
yeah,
they're both going 30 plus miles an hour.
hmm,
They're dressed the same. They have the same teams. Like I don't understand the difference between the
yeah,
two. So I'm like, how can you get enjoyment out of one and not the other? And what it boils down to, because we were watching it over the weekend, and what it really boils down to is lack of knowledge of the names, the
right,
participants, right?
right,
You just don't read about them in the news articles and things of that nature. So you're like, well, who are the players? But once you learn who
yeah,
the players are, the first 15 minutes of the race, you're kind of like, oh,
yeah,
this is the same. It
yeah,
was awesome to see, Faulkner too was up there towards the very
yeah,
end. Like she was sitting in second, third place right after the
hmm,
Olympics. Like it was a very exciting. I
yeah.
mean, I love it. Like I mean, I can't wait for it to be 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Um, it really is
So
just
the
amazing.
plan, as they've set it out, is it should add 3 days next year. I think we'll see if it happens. But I was so fortunate last year that I took a group of women to go watch the race, to spectate the race last year, and it was just phenomenal. And we climbed Col de Tourmalet on my birthday, which was really
Oh, that's
cool.
awesome.
I know, what a great birthday. So, anyways, good morning, Rebecca. Good morning, Matthew. Um, Be careful about saying killer good races there, Matthew. For those who don't know, Matthew survived a heart episode and is back on the bike and starting to add a little intensity. I'm so happy to see that. I've got a couple of shout outs. Actually, I have a huge shout out just to everybody who completed the summer sprint challenge. It was massive increases in short duration power. I was so excited. I screenshotted every single one of your graphs and your befores and afters, and I was super excited about it. There were a couple of people who sent me private messages and said, I didn't really see a change, or I felt like it went down. And that's okay too. Maybe there was something that affected your training, or maybe there was just something that affected the way you did that final class. And that's okay. The process, I think, is more important than the outcome, but the outcome was pretty great for most folks. And many of you were yesterday commented, I never thought I could do something like this. I never thought I could take a pro cyclist ride or a Power Zone Max ride. And so we expanded your boundaries a little bit. So congratulations to everyone who did that. And congratulations to everyone who didn't see a change and still completed the challenge. I think that's really important. And then I have to give a shout out to, speaking of crazy things that we do, super long endurance stuff, Rich Kosis, I think I'm not sure I pronounced his name correctly. He did back-to-back centuries just recently this past week and completed 10,000 miles on the Peloton for the year, which is just kind of crazy.
So
I hope
far.
he has good shaming.
10,000
Yeah.
10,000 miles so far, like
So
not
far.
for the year, like just so
Yeah.
far. Like we still have many months left. Like that's a lot.
Yeah. Unless you change sports. Last year I had this huge volume year and I came back from France and I didn't feel like riding my bike. And so I started running instead. So I had big volume until August. And then it was like, yeah, that's okay. I'll ride a couple days a week. So we'll see what Rich decides to do. Let's see if we're in August now. So he should be able to get to, 15,000, right? We'll see. There's your challenge, Rich. So let's talk about Summer Sprint Challenge.
Yeah. I think
it's done. What do we think? What was our outcome?
Amazing. I thought it was amazing, right? Like I had one real goal out of all of this was to have our athletes experience a different style of training. It's not all about FTP. It's not, I don't have to always do these tempo rides and stuff like that, that there is a different style and that these styles need to be done throughout the year, right? They need to be interchangeable. So for someone to, for a group of people to go through a 4-week block of something that's totally out of their norm and to trust us on that is amazing. Like that was my number one goal. And as you mentioned, like sometimes some of these people, we saw big power bumps. Some people didn't see any. And one of the things that we always have to remember is we don't always see it in testing, right? But the question, like I always say to my clients is, well, have you done anything over the last 4 weeks that made you a worse rider? No, then your number, then even if your numbers went down, you're not worse than when you started, right? We only get bad when we do things to actually hurt our fitness. So if you're not actively working against yourself, I always say it's like, if you work out, it's all going to work out.
Right.
That's for sure.
And that's one of the things that I commented in private to someone, which was, even if you didn't see your numbers go up, it's very likely your fitness went up. So numbers don't always tell the whole story. And maybe you're just not a good tester. I'm a terrible tester, right? I have ADD. I can't take a test for the life of me, including an FTP test. So, but I can go out and ride my bike hard, and we have to remember that. So
I'm
did
the
I
same
improve
way.
my fitness? Right.
I'm horrible at testing, right? Because testing, I'm going against myself, right? I'm personally pushing myself. I'm always like, I could go a little easier. But if you put me in a competition and you put me next to somebody and be like, all right, we're going to do, a 5-minute interval.
Right.
I'm just trying to beat the person next to me.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not even looking at mine. I'm just like, I'm crushing it. Like, yeah, it's the competitive aspect.
Oops. I'm not sure if Brian went away or if I went away. Oh, I think it's Brian.
I'm back.
You're back. I was like, I don't know if it's me or you. Living at the beach,
no,
sometimes I question the quality of my Wi-Fi.
No, I didn't block my alerts. I just got spam called. Like, who knows? But a lot of times it's just that ability of testing or not testing. And all my PRs are in a race situation. right?
Mhm.
Every single one. I never match them in testing.
Yeah.
And that it's not physiological, it's neurological, it's mental. Like I just don't believe I can push as hard by myself. And
Yeah.
that's something as an athlete that I have to recognize and work on
Mhm.
myself. And that's what part of this challenge was for a lot of people. People didn't believe they could do these numbers, and all of a sudden they're seeing 600s and 700s or 400s. And it's
Yeah.
like you just saw these red, top of their graph, these reds were like this, and like there's like a little rainbow down here. And you're
Yeah.
just like, wow, they've never seen that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was super pumped. I loved it. Loved it.
So it's good. And so I think what we will see as we enter, this is a good segue into our fall endurance challenge, is your fitness is improved in a different way, but you're also going to notice that when we raise the roof, then we can take everything up. So that's going to be exciting. Our next challenge starts Monday.
Monday.
Did the emails go out today? I think they
They
did.
should have.
I didn't
I
get
think
one.
so.
Hey, did anybody get an
Matt.
email today? Matt, Maggie, Rebecca. So we start on Monday. Our focus will be endurance, but I'm going to mix this up. If you haven't already figured out about me, I'm not somebody to do things the same way all the time. So we've got some cool aspects to this one, I think. And Jackie Cincotti, again, I don't know if I pronounced her name right either, but she's like, oh, I like this short, fast, hard stuff. And I left just enough spice to make her happy. So she can be our gauge for that. We are going to do some live rides with Matt on Saturdays, and you'll notice that we've started to schedule things in. So we've put some groups together. So hop on the leaderboard with your teammates, and we'll ride. We'll do again the 6 a.m., 9 a.m., 12, and 3. And we will do.
Uh-oh, now we lost Lorri. So I'm still alive, but Lori's gone. What's happening here? So while she is gone, I guess I'll continue this for a second, as long as it's still going. Wait, there she is.
There we
She's
are.
back.
I know. I'm like, who just called? It's probably the same telemarketer that just called you.
Totally.
And I have do not disturb on. I don't understand. Apple, can we make this not happen? I'm in Zoom calls and all of a sudden, I get a robocall. But anyways, we're going to do our 4 live rides on Saturdays. When Matt is live, we're going to ride with him, and we will adjust the schedule accordingly. There are a couple of times when he is not live, including this weekend. We're going to ride with, or next weekend. We'll ride with Christian Bendeveld on those days. So we'll bring back those race training classes because they're awesome. What else are we doing? Oh, climb rides. We're going to include climb rides, especially for those of you who are planning to do a big event like Hincapie, which only has 8,000 feet of climbing or 9,000 feet of climbing. Or depending, my Wahoo last year reported over 10,000 feet of climbing. So I don't know. I guess I did bonus repeats on one of the climbs. But anyways, we'll do some climbs on Sundays. And then our final event, we have some options there. So some of you are planning to ride Hincapie in Greenville. So that'll be your final event, and we'll talk about how we add in some more endurance for that, for those of you doing the longer distances. It's also Matt's birthday weekend, so we have the option of doing either a 41-kilometer or 41-mile outdoor ride. We're going to put together some regional rides for those of you who might be near one of those cities. You can join in or do it on your own. We have the option of a 2-hour Power Zone endurance ride, or of course you can do another FTP test if you really want to, because hey, they got the emails. Yay. I guess Brian and I forgot to sign up for anything, so we didn't get the emails. But anyway, so we'll shake it up. We'll do a few different things, and I'm super excited. It'll be a nice challenge and get us into the fall and our last events of the year, and that's about it. On the road side, we have a big change, and Brian's going to talk about that at the end, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
we can talk about it now too.
Yeah, no, I'll go through kind of what we're looking at. Like, in the last challenge, we had the road challenge and the Peloton challenge were very equally matched as far as the workout structures were concerned all the way through. This one, we're going to differ a little bit just because, once again, Lori's using the classes that are built by the coaches, and have to build these classes. So I don't want to remake every class that they make. So we're using the same concepts. So, Tuesdays and Thursdays are going to look similar as far as what we're trying to accomplish physiologically, but they're just going to be delivered in a little different way. So, yep, for us next week, we're going to start with the FTP test on Tuesday. Wednesdays remain as a recovery ride. Thursdays, we're getting into like a 2x15. We're keeping it on the easier side in zone 3, mainly because you're just retesting your FTP, as well as we really haven't been doing these type of intervals, right? We've been so focused on the short stuff that it's going to take a little while to get back into these longer kind of efforts.
Right.
Friday's an off day. On Saturday, I'm giving you guys 2 options, all right, for this road outside. I'm going to always leave an indoor option should the weather be bad or you choose to ride indoors, which would be a little bit of a spicier type workout, a little shorter, a little spicier, but still over 75 minutes, usually probably around 90-minute type workout. And then you have a long ride option, which is your outdoor option. This mainly zone 2 with some zone 3s mixed in while we're doing this. You always have, I have to kind of put a volume out there, even though we're all at different volumes. Some people might be training for the 41K. Some people are training for Hincapie and doing 8,000 feet of
like
climbing.
Nolan.
Right? So
good job,
like Nolan. So it's really hard to say, hey, everyone should be doing a 20-mile, 30-mile, 45, 2-hour ride or a 5-hour ride. So I'm happy to help if people have questions about how far they should be going, but I'm putting up, a general 2 to 3 hour ride. If you need to ride longer, just extend it. Extend the zone 2 efforts longer. If you need to shorten it, you can also shorten down those zone 2 efforts if you need to as well. But if you're ever looking for advice on that, I always say is like, riding longer is never a bad idea. Just do it in zone 2, right?
We don't want to
overextend
create
yourself.
extra fatigue. We just want to create more fitness.
Exactly right. And then Saturday is another kind of recovery ride. If you are outside, you can take that outside as well and just do, a shorter long ride zone 2 as well. Now the fun, exciting part this time is we're not using our platform to deliver the workouts. We are using Training Peaks for the roadside. Finally.
And let me tell you guys, if you think this was an easy negotiation, it wasn't.
Was not.
Brian and I had to come with our guns ready to go and had to convince them that this was a really good idea and it would work. So so we are excited about this.
This is our beta version. Like we're going to try this out on the roadside, see how it goes, with a couple hundred athletes. And the real reason we're doing this is because it allows for easier file uploads and everything, right? You don't have to take the ZWO file and convert it to a fit file if you're using a Garmin. Like this is simple. Whatever device you use, whether it's Wahoo, Zwift, Garmin, Hammerhead, anything, it's just going to automatically upload directly to your device. If you have a Training Peaks account, it's super simple. In the email today, actually, you should have gotten that automatic link, basically, and all you have to do is click that link. It's going to connect your account to our Training Peaks account. On Sunday this week, I'll go in and I'm actually going to upload the whole program. So you're going to have all 8 weeks in front of you on your calendar, and you'll get daily emails.
Don't do them all in 1 week, guys.
Yeah, no, you're going to get a daily thing that's kind of coming along. And I'll know if you did it early because I'll actually see it pop up. So it's all just going to be right there. There's a Training Peaks app that you can download to kind of see what's coming up and all that stuff. And it's going to give us a lot more data. So you're going to see a lot more data that's going to be in there with your normalized power, your variability index, your all these different things. And I've created a sheet that kind of explains all these things. And then we're going to set up probably a weekly Zoom call to where you can hop on, for 30 minutes with me just to kind of ask questions if you're having trouble kind of, figuring out how to get this thing set up. We do understand that not everybody uses Training Peaks, and there's always a little bit of fear with something new. And yes, there's a lot of data. Just because there's more data doesn't mean you have to pay attention to it. Right.
But for those of you who love it, which is many of you,
it's all there.
You can go down that slippery slope.
Yeah, and this data will become more important to you little by little when you start to realize, like, how these numbers affect or can show your fitness. Like, so some of these people that didn't see number changes, I'm sure if we had their files in Training Peaks, we could pull up and show them data that they did improve in certain ways. So data is great, but data can also be paralyzing for some. And again, I always tell my clients, like, if you don't like the data, that's why I'm here. You don't have to know it. You just have to know what the workout is. Go in and do the workout. Let me look at that stuff and understand how we're going to change your program for this data to ultimately change. So I'm super pumped that we're using Training Peaks. I think it's in the long run, it's going to be fantastic for us
Oh yeah.
overall. I think it's a great learning tool. I think it's just easier. Yeah, we'll see.
And
We're going
if
to
you
see
guys
how everybody
don't
responds.
screw it up, if you don't screw it up, we may be able to move everybody over to that platform at some point. So be careful, don't screw it. No. Yeah, I think it is a phenomenal experience. And for those of you who've been curious about coaching, like one-on-one coaching, this is going to give you a better taste of that as well. So you're okay, Rebecca. You're going to be fine.
Totally.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm low tech Lori. Everybody knows I take forever to learn new things, and I have a device, for example, that I've had here for 6 weeks that I have not been able to figure out how to use, a safety device, a Garmin InReach, and I'm like, yeah, I'm paying for this thing that is sitting on my counter waiting to figure it out. So I totally get it. So for those of you who are a little more challenged with learning new things, this is why we're going to give you some time with Brian, so you can get some hand holding if you need. And those who want to explore the data a little more, you can do that as well. So Training
Yeah.
Peaks is a great tool to do that.
And
And
obviously, on Facebook, just ask a question. Like, she tagged
mhm,
me in it, so I see it. That pops up. We also created a email address. I think it's called Road Cycling Challenge at Team Wilpers. I can't remember. It's in the email that went out today.
yeah,
Um, and that email address is basically dedicated for this purpose, right? They have questions about this that you can email. It goes directly to me and the office, so we can
mhm,
try to address any questions that come up as soon as possible. And we expect questions to pop up in this first week or two, as people are trying to get used to the process and getting signed
yeah,
in and things like that. But once we get rolling, it's
so
so much
easy.
easier.
It's
You
all
don't have to go
automatic.
back in and check boxes and stuff of that nature. Like, we're trying to kind of,
We will
streamline
know, like
this.
Santa Claus, we will know what you did if you've been naughty or nice. And I have a suggestion, Brian. We didn't talk about this, but maybe you can, maybe once a week or every other day or whatever, summarize the questions that you're getting and post them on the Facebook
Yes.
group as well. So people, because if one person has a question, it's very likely that others do too. So that would be a good way to address
Yeah,
those.
I'll try to do that. I'll
Yeah.
try to repost the questions that I get throughout the week
Yeah.
on Facebook as just a update kind of thing.
Yeah. It'll be good. Um, Hincappy. I know some of you are planning to do Hincappy, and I wrote it last year. And as I mentioned, I kind of stopped riding my bike around August, and I'd had huge climbing rides. And I went into Hincappy, and my ego said, "Oh yeah, just do the 8,000
Mhm.
feet. You've done 8,000 feet. You know, when was the last time? August, and this was October." And I was great for the first 4,000 feet. And the second half of the ride, I was suffering like a dog. Not to mention the air travel from California there, and I had a really stressful travel day where I rented a car from the wrong airport and they didn't
I
have,
remember.
I know, don't even ask. I changed my flight and I had, anyways. Um, Long climbs. If I have one piece of advice for anyone doing Hincapi, I would say it's not just the total elevation that you ride, but some of the climbs are quite long. So if you can find some long climbs to train on, and when I say long, I mean 20, 30, 45-minute climbs where you can spend a good amount of time, because that's going to help you with the biomechanics piece with the back pain, right? So when we get
Mhm.
adapted to being in that position of climbing, and along with long climbs come long descents. There are some good technical, super fun descents. I will say one thing I recall about Greenville was some of the best road surfaces I've ever ridden. I was very impressed. Here in California, we have a lot of roads that are just falling apart and you're bumping down descents a lot. And these were just amazing. I love to descent. And these were just amazing, somewhat technical descents, though. So really work on your skills and work on the long climbs. I think it will benefit you as you are preparing for the event. And it's super fun. There's also, for those of you in Team Wilpers who are not familiar, Peloton Road Riders, they always take a big group and they have a Facebook group as well and a chat. And so lots of experience there. So if you're planning to ride Hincapi and you haven't done it before, jump on over to that group. Feel free to ask your questions. They talk a lot of non Peloton stuff too, but it's all good. And they usually do a shakeout ride on Friday that week. So they'll get together and Matt usually will ride with them on Friday. We had a good time there. And then I know Matt is doing the shorter version at Hincapi this year. He's doing the 50-mile. Apparently, he says his wife will disown him if he does the longer one this year. So, yeah, but Hincapi is a great event and they make a big deal. And you get a medal when you're done. It's really cool. Yeah, anyways.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd say real quick on that, like whenever you're looking at climbing, like a course, like if you
mhm,
are doing a course of this, any race is something I always look at is, what's the mileage, what's the volume, right, or the elevation. So this is 80 and 8,000. So we're talking, 100
a
feet
nice
per or 1,000
ratio,
feet per
1 to
10.
1.
Right? It's a 1 to 1. So it's trying to find that on your weekend long rides as well, trying to get that similar ratio. And then also, how is that ratio happening? Like you said, are these 20-minute climbs or a whole bunch of 5-minute climbs?
Yeah,
Because that really impacts. And then when you look at training peaks on your long rides, you do get VAM, which is your vertical ascending per meter, basically. So how fast are you climbing? And that will help you kind of predict your time a little bit better and things of that
yeah,
nature. So, and then Aaron did have a question about training peaks: is can you use training peaks without a watch or a computer and things like that? Yes, you can, because essentially what training peaks is going to give you is exactly what we've been giving you this whole time, as far as what are the steps of that workout. The warm up, 5 minutes at this, 5 minutes at this. So those things. So that's all there. It'll actually be written out in more detail than, because normally what I do is I would then basically what this workout was saying is I would then transcribe that into a little bit more bite size
mhm,
thing. So it's actually going to give you more detail. So it shouldn't affect how you've been doing your workouts up to this point, whatever apparatus you're using or whatever monitoring device you've been using, all of it's going to be the same. Now, if you do have a heart rate monitor, if you do have a power meter, if you do have any of these other things, those things are going to automatically upload directly. So that makes it a lot easier as well.
yeah. Awesome. Hey, we're getting good at this.
I know we're under 40 minutes and we've only had two
I
mechanical mess
know.
ups.
And that was spam bot, so whatever.
Yeah. And there was
Yeah,
none for you and Ava a week ago. So I'm kind of feeling like it might be me.
yeah. We had a weird audio thing going on with Ava too. So,
Okay, good. So it's not
I
me.
know. Yeah.
Awesome.
No. No, and anyways, this is neither here nor there. Anyways, we're really excited. Um, we start officially on Monday. You have your option to start a little early if you need to. If you need help with any modifications, just reach out. Again, the Facebook group is a great resource. I encourage you. There are no questions that are silly or foolish or whatever. If you have a question, probably other folks do too. So feel free to ask there or to DM us or to email Brian. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
Email is a great way. Yeah,
Exactly.
email is a great way. I mean, questions are going to come up. This is going to be amazing. I'm really excited about, especially the training peak stuff. I think it's just going to come
Yeah,
to a whole bunch of new questions for people to ask and insight into how to look at certain things. And
yeah.
yeah, it's
Next
great. I
level.
love it.
So, and
Next
look,
level.
Jeff showed up for the last 20 seconds. Good to see you, Jeff. So, anyways, have a great week, everyone. We'll see you on the leaderboard.
Bye, guys.